Hi, and welcome to Chapter 6 Challenge Problems. Again, the hardest of the hard. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, in this challenge problem, what we have is suppose the demand in the market for X is given by the equation. Quantity demanded is 30 minus P, and the supply in the market is given by the equation 2P. So we have some scenarios, mostly asking us if there's a shortage or a surplus. So let's go ahead and drill down into these one at a time. So here's our first question. If the government sets a price ceiling at $8, would there be a shortage or surplus, and how much would it be? So number one. So the price ceiling is going to be $8. One of the things I like to do on these is to figure out what is price equilibrium to determine if this is a binding or non-binding price ceiling or floor. So we're going to set the equation quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. We're going to set them equal to each other, and we're going to say 30 minus P is equal to 2P. I'm going to go ahead and add the P to both sides. 30 equals 3P. We're going to go ahead and divide by, get that variable of price. So our price equilibrium is going to be $10. So the price ceiling is 8 in the first question. So we know this is going to be a binding price ceiling. They're asking us how large would the shortage or surplus be. So what I want to know is what is quantity equilibrium. So I'm just going to take 2P and say 2 times 10. So quantity equilibrium is going to be 20. The price ceiling is at 8. So we're going to put in for the quantity demanded, we're going to go ahead and say 30 minus 8. And that's going to give us 22 for the quantity demanded. The quantity supplied is going to be 2P, or 2 times the 8, which is 16, is the quantity supplied. So that gives us a difference of 6. And because the quantity supplied is less than the quantity demanded, this is going to be a shortage. Okay, still holding the price equilibrium because I want to find out if it's binding. Let's go into our next one. So remember, our price equilibrium is going to be $10. If the government set a price floor at 7, prices cannot go below it. Would there be a surplus or a shortage, and how much? Well, we know here that the price floor is going to be $7. The price equilibrium is at 10. Because equilibrium is greater than the floor, this is non-binding and will have no effect on the market. Okay, the third one. Again, remember that our price equilibrium is still $10. If the government set a price ceiling, prices cannot go above it at $12. Price ceiling is at $12. Price equilibrium is at $10. Would there be a shortage or surplus, and how much would it be? So just to look at it a different way, we have demand. Right. So here is our price equilibrium of 10. I think our quantity equilibrium was to 20. Yeah. And right here, the price ceiling is going to be at 12. Prices cannot go above it. We can visually see that this is going to be non-binding. And the price will stay at 10. There we go. Fourth one. Price equilibrium is 10. If the government sets a price floor at 13, prices cannot go below it. So if the price floor is 13. We want to know if we have a shortage, surplus, how large would that be? Because it's a price floor at 13, our price equilibrium's at 10, this is binding. We'll jump into the math. So quantity demanded is going to be 30 minus 13. So the quantity demanded is going to be 17. Quantity supplied is going to be 2 times 13, or quantity supplied equals 26. The difference of this, we have 26 supplied, 17 demanded. Quantity supplied is larger than the quantity demanded, so we have a surplus of 9 units. Okay, 5, 6, and 7 deal with it a little bit differently. We still have some equations here, but it's asking us a little bit differently. So in a particular market, market demand is given by 60 minus P, quantity supplied is P. Suppose a per unit tax is imposed that reduces the number of units bought and sold in the market. Reduces the number of units bought and sold to 25 units. So it sounds like quantity equilibrium here after the tax, or quantity with the tax, I should say, is equal to 25 units. What is the size of the tax? Who bears a greater burden? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to look at here, and I'm going to use the shortcut method. Well, actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and solve it right here. So I'm not using figure 20 because it didn't tell me to refer to figure 20. So remember, the quantity demanded has to equal the quantity supplied. So quantity demanded is 60 minus P equals P. I'm going to go ahead and add P to both sides. I get 60 equals 2P. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2, isolate that variable, and I get price equilibrium equals 30. Okay. My quantity equilibrium says right here it's the same as the price, so my quantity equilibrium is going to equal 30. Now, in looking at this, suppose a per unit tax is imposed that reduces the number of units bought and sold in the market to 25. So that means that the quantity demanded is going to be 25. And when the quantity demanded becomes 25, I know this variable, 25. So then I'll solve for price. So I have 25 equals 60 minus P. I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides. I end up with a negative 35 equals a negative P. Multiply both sides by negative 1, and I get P with the tax is equal to 35. Okay, and this would be for the buyers because they are the ones that are paying 35. So this is the price that buyers pay. For the price sellers receive, I'm going to say the quantity supplied equals 25. So therefore, the price with the tax that sellers receive is going to be equal to $25. Okay, so the price buyers pay is going to be 35. Price sellers receive is going to be 25. The difference between those is that tax wedge. So 35 minus 25 is going to be a $10 tax. They also want to know who bears the greater burden of the tax. Well, here I'm going to go back to price equilibrium. And I'm going to look at this and say, okay, if prior to the tax we were at 30, And now buyers are paying 35, so I'm going to subtract price equilibrium. So buyers are paying $5 of the tax. Sellers were receiving 30, but now they're only receiving 25, so they too are paying $5 of the tax. So of the tax, buyers have a tax burden of 5, sellers have a tax burden of 5. So it's shared equally. Okay, here is question 6. Suppose a $3 per unit tax is imposed on sellers of the good. How much is the burden of the tax on sellers in the market? So here what I'm going to do is use that shortcut method. A $3 tax wedge is about this large. And it would be great if I could find something that is right in between. So let's see if I can have it. Because remember, it has to be passing through equilibrium. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to say 9, 10, 11, 12, 850, and 1150. It has to touch both. So let me erase that. I'm trying to do this on a much smaller scale than what I normally do. Let me go ahead and erase that. My tax wedge too. Grab a different pen color. Okay. All right. Well, if I come here at, okay, suppose a 3-unit tax is imposed on sellers. Okay, so sellers. So here is our equilibrium. And I'm going to actually use the long way because I think it'll make more sense to you. Price equilibrium. When the tax is imposed on the sellers, we're going to add $3 to price equilibrium. So 10 comes in here at 13. I'm going to add my reference point right here. Now what I'm going to do is to shift the supply curve so that it passes through the reference point. So that it passes through the reference point. And then what I'm going to do is to draw my tax box. So it looks like if I would have used the wedge, it probably would have worked out as well. And I'm going to say it's about $8.50 the price sellers receive. Price buyers pay is about $11.50. And so that gives us the $3 tax. $10 was equilibrium. So suppose the $3 tax is imposed in the sellers. How much of this tax is on the sellers in the market? So if we know that price equilibrium was at 10, price equilibrium minus the price that sellers are receiving. So we have 10 minus $8.50, which gives us $1.50 of that tax would be on the sellers. How much is on the buyers? Again, price equilibrium is 10. We have the price that that buyers are paying, so the price buyers are paying is going to be $11.50 minus the $10.50 is going to give us $1.50, which is the burden of the tax on the buyers. Okay. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks for your time and attention.